I got uninvited to my brother's wedding because I was dating a guy and his wife's religious family didn't accept me for it. But when I texted my parents why I wasn't there, they were livid, and my absence turned that night into all-out warfare. So my brother's wedding happened 2 days ago. And it turned into a complete chaos, which I know even though I wasn't there. You might wonder why I didn't attend the wedding if it's my brother's. Well, it's because of his wife's family. He did send me an invitation to the wedding because he wanted me there, but his fiancée told him I couldn't attend because I had a boyfriend. You might be confused. But I'm a man. A bisexual man to be exact, and I have a boyfriend who I wanted to bring to the wedding. She said even though she doesn't have a problem with that and he doesn't have a problem with that, her extremely religious parents who already forced her to do the wedding in a church would most likely banish us from the wedding and cause trouble between our families. After she told him that, my brother told me I couldn't attend and told me why. You might think I was angry. The truth is I was relieved. I hate going to big events with lots of people because of my social anxiety, and I already was used to not being able to attend certain events because of my sexuality, so it was nothing I hadn't heard before. So on the day of the wedding, I stayed at home with my boyfriend. It's worth mentioning my parents didn't know I wasn't attending the wedding. I was chillin' at home cuddling with my boyfriend when I suddenly got a text message from my parents asking me where I was because they couldn't find me at the wedding party. I told them I wasn't attending the wedding and if my brother hasn't told them anything. They said no and asked me what happened. I didn't see any reason to lie, so I sent them a text message telling them exactly why. Now I have to admit I don't exactly know what happened after I sent them this message because they read it but didn't reply. And why do they care in the first place? They didn't notice I wasn't there before until the wedding was already over. They only noticed when the wedding party started. However, apparently, my parents talked to my brother about it and all of a sudden my absence was the main topic of the wedding party. From what I heard, two fronts formed. On the one hand, my parents and the rest of my family against the family of my brother's wife, and apparently he as a husband now felt compelled to take her side and tried to argue in her favor. It's crazy to think that I was just sitting at home living my best life with my boyfriend while all of that went down on his wedding. The wedding party was ruined and my brother appeared on my door angrily screaming at me why I felt the need to ruin his wedding. I was confused and asked him what happened and he told me everything. I told him it wasn't my intention. I just told our parents what happened because they didn't know and wanted to know where I was, and I thought he told them beforehand. He screamed at me that I ruined his wedding. I told him it's not my fault, he wasn't honest with them. I just respected their wish to not attend the wedding. I couldn't know it would go down like this because, like I said, I couldn't attend several events before because of my sexuality and my parents never said anything about it, so I thought it would be the same thing here. But I gotta admit it's kinda sweet that my parents and the rest of my family stood up for me. They haven't done it before. That's a more than welcome change. But I still feel kinda bad because apparently I really ruined the wedding party. Update 1. Didn't thought I'd give an update, but many interesting things happened. So after my brother's visit, his wife and him went to honeymoon. And the way the wedding party went might have been even worse than I imagined. What happens now is incredible. When I said in the main post that two fronts had formed, I only meant that metaphorically, of course, but it's no longer that. While nothing much interesting happened in the first 2 days afterwards, the terror started as soon as my brother and his wife went on their honeymoon. My mom and my dad visited me and told me how the wedding party escalated and they were so close to physical violence. I thought it was funny at first, but this truly bothers me. I also want to point that you did a great job at convincing me it's not my fault, but hearing my parents' side still gave me a bad feeling in my stomach. However, like I said, the terror started shortly after they went to their honeymoon. And when I say terror, I mean that my Sills family found both my Facebook and Instagram account and started spamming me with hateful messages. I received insults and hateful messages from various different accounts who all had one thing in common. They all had somewhat of a Christian theme and all of them had the same last name. So it wasn't hard to find out whose accounts it was. Mainly because I don't know my Sills family at all. I only know her and I know her parents were homophobic Christians. But whatever. They not only started attacking me, they also found the account of my boyfriend over my account because we're linked as a couple and started to send him the same messages. The messages contained on one side typical bigot stuff like, "You're burning in Hades for your sins." One even called me and my boyfriend two devils in disguise. The other side were just blatant insults. You get the idea. I called my parents and told them what they are doing. Then I sent a text message to my brother with screenshots of the messages his wife's family sent me, to which he replied that I shouldn't disturb him with that during his honeymoon as I already destroyed his wedding party. I couldn't believe it. He was just like them. He did send me an apology after my mom told me she called him. But none of this is the main reason I'm giving you this update this early. Because I got a call this morning from an unknown number. I hesitated because I thought it was one of them. And I was right, but it was none of the people who insulted me. I heard a woman's voice who introduced herself as the half-sister of my brother's wife. She said it didn't went unnoticed what her family was doing and she wanted to apologize for them. I told her I'm not going to tell anyone in her family about this and that I don't blame her for her family's actions. She thanked me and hung up. I don't know why, but I have this feeling she only did this to protect her family from being reported. My mother wrote to me earlier that she wants to report the insults and the harassment of these people and that she demands for my brother to divorce his wife or she will disinherit him from her will because that's not how she raised him. A little radical in my opinion, but I understand where she's coming from. This entire thing escalated so much it's unbelievable. Thank you all for your support on my first post. Update 2. It's been a few days. First of all, me and my boyfriend are fine. Luckily for us, they didn't go any further than their text messages. My mom filed a report against them. I don't know the current situation about that as I haven't filed a report myself. The reason I update you is a different one. First of all, one person in my Sills family is actually going to testify in my favor and against her family. It really takes courage to do so. It's the same person that called me in the last update. Somehow they found out that she is into women. No reason to hide it anymore. However, she said she's fine and is going to stay at a friend's house. I have so much respect for what she does. Imagine the strength you need to testify against your own family. I now feel bad for assuming she only called me to save her family from being reported. More importantly, what is the current situation with my brother? Well, my mom talked to him and told him to leave his wife or she will disinherit him from her will. He decided to stay with his wife and my mom made her threat come true. He's no longer in her will. My father did the same. When I visited them, I also told them that I wish that this entire situation went different. They assured me it's not my fault, but I feel like if it wasn't for me then my family wouldn't be ripped apart like this. Haven't talked to my brother since then. My boyfriend feels similar. He also told me he kinda feels responsible for all this chaos. I assured him it's not his fault. But honestly, I wasn't even sure if I could say this in my position. On the other hand, it was my Sills family's bigotry that ruined everything, and everything would have been fine if I could have just attended. But now it's time for me to grow distant to this situation. We see what the report will do. I followed your advice to document everything. The insulting and harassing messages continued until 2 days ago. So I have much to say about them. Unfortunately, homophobia is still very much normalized in our society. I already said it in a post in my profile, but the reason I'm so calm and casual about the situation is the simple fact that I'm used to situations like this. They don't get to me anymore. If I let any insult get to me, I wouldn't make it for a long time. It's a coping mechanism. I've been into situations where I was sent into hospital because I kissed my boyfriend in public. So insults and harassment like theirs is nothing I haven't seen before. I want to say thank you for all your support on my first 2 posts. Update 3. I think some of y'all are waiting for an update, so here I am. So last time I told you my mother was pressing charges against them, and to my surprise we won. They weren't going to jail or anything, but they had to pay for their actions. Literally. There was one incident where my Sill dad was actually trying to find out where I lived and asked my brother, who told him. Only God knows what he would have done to us if we still had lived there. But in the time span of the last 2 months, me and my boyfriend moved to a different place which my brother didn't know anything of. Also, their social media accounts were deleted. However, I don't know if this was part of their punishment or if they did it themselves. My mom has also carried out the threat towards my brother and disinherited him from her will. After he came back from his honeymoon, he begged her to put him in again. She said only if he apologized to me. She invited me and my boyfriend over, and my brother sat in the living room with this mad look on his face. She made him apologize, but I didn't accept this apology because I could tell it wasn't sincere. He did it because he had to and not because he was actually sorry. I told my brother that I am disappointed in him for who he became. Before that, we had this huge bond, usually never judged each other for stuff like this, and all of a sudden he has such a problem with me having a boyfriend. I just don't get it. I told him that I miss the old him. He didn't respond to anything. He just sat there quietly staring at the bottom. After I finished, he just got up and left. This was the last time I spoke with him, and it's already been a few weeks since this happened. My parents paid much more attention to the discrimination I face since this incident. They wanted to learn more about the problems I face as a queer person. I really love them. My dad even got a bisexual pride flag for me and asked if he could hang it in our bedroom. I love that I have such great parents. I just wished for my brother to become the person he once was. BTW. Since the case with my Sills family is over, I didn't heard anything about their lesbian daughter. She supported us during the process, but we lost contact afterwards, and I just hope she's fine. Update 4. The final update of my story happened 6 months ago, and I figured some of you might be interested in how things currently doing. So I'm back, at least for this post right now. There have been some things that happened. First of all, I want to give you an update about the sister of my brother's wife. Around 2 months after my update, she texted us and asked if she could come over. We talked a while and I was relieved to find out that she is fine. She said that she moved in with her girlfriend when the case was over. Simply because her parents and the rest of her family had disowned her and threatened her with physical violence if she dares to return. However, the relationship with her girlfriend ended after a while, and she asked us if she could stay for a few days until she found something. She stayed with us for 2 weeks. During that time, my parents had visited us and offered her to stay with them because they had a big house with some free space. She stays there currently because she wanted to study, and my parents had no problem with letting her stay a little longer. Me and my boyfriend also support her financially a little bit. We included her into several different celebrations such as Christmas and New Year's Eve, and I feel like she is like the sister I never had. What's probably more interesting for you is how my brother is currently doing. The truth is, I don't know exactly. We haven't talked since the apology. However, he actually tried to attend our Christmas celebration party, but the moment he appeared my dad kicked him out and said that, and I quote, "This homophobic rubbish is no longer allowed in my house. I love him." BTW, of course both went through with disowning him. My boyfriend and I are still together and I feel like he might be the one I want to marry. This entire situation made our bond so much stronger. I plan on proposing to him, but there are so many ideas floating around in my head for the proposal that I can't really decide which one. Also, the social media accounts of my Sills family had disappeared entirely. All of them, but I assume they already made new ones under a new name. I don't have any compassion left for my brother. I just wish he had never developed this way. Everything that happened to him, he brought it on himself. If you guys want, I can update you when I'm engaged. Wish you all the best. Update 5. So the last time I actively posted an update was about a year ago. If you haven't followed my account in the meantime, I'll briefly summarize what happened. I got engaged shortly after the update and now a year later we're married. I'll be honest. I'm still shaken up. I wouldn't update on this subreddit if something significant hadn't happened. It's amazing that many of my followers have already warned me that my brother might be planning something, but I never would have thought that it could be so evil. The wedding took place a few days ago. We canceled our honeymoon for now until we settled things because right now we wouldn't enjoy it. While we were sitting at the table, eating and talking with our parents about the future, one of the security guards, yes, we did hire some as one you suggested, we had hired, approached me and informed me that someone outside was begging for admission. When I asked who, the guard hesitated briefly and informed me that it was my brother. I told the guard that I would go with him to resolve the situation, but my father, who overheard the conversation, told me to stay put because it was my day and I shouldn't have to deal with it. A little later, shouting was heard from outside. My mother asked me to stay seated. She would go see what was going on, and when she came back, her face pale as chalk, she told me that my brother and my father were shouting at each other outside. My brother demanded to be let in and my father told him to FCK off. At some point, my brother left and my father tried to calm down, but you could still see the veins in his neck with anger. He explained what had happened. We thought that would be the end of it, but no, it was going to get worse. Much worse, in fact. My brother had somehow managed to get past the security guards. When I noticed him, he was approaching with frantic steps and my father tackled him to the ground. The music in the room stopped and all eyes were on us. I called the security guards. My father was on top of him, shouting. My mother covered her mouth in shock. My now husband stood protectively in front of me. The security guards escorted him outside and called the police. Why? Because they had noticed that he had a pocket knife, which he dropped when my father tackled him to the ground. I didn't say that he had tried to attack me with it, but I assumed that that was what would have happened. He was arrested for attempted assault. He kept looking at me. He was no longer recognizable. His eyes were full of anger and hatred. The party was ruined. The police asked all the witnesses for statements and then sent all the guests home. We currently have to settle some stuff with the police and decided to take our honeymoon later because right now we are not in the state to enjoy it with everything that happened. Anyway, after everything, I'm not only disappointed in what my brother became. I'm straight up terrified. I'm trying to tell myself that he didn't actually try to end me. But how exactly do you deal with a situation like this? Me and my husband are trying to get past this and he is so sweet, but I can tell it affected him too. Anyway, I just wanted to tell you guys because some of you predicted something like this and advised me to hire security guards, but I really underestimated it. I have to take a break for now. Thanks for reading.